Well, evidently I was muted. Thank you so much for telling me that. And let's start all over again. Wow, wow, wow. Why do I do that? I do that because I was watching Kilts and listening through speakers. So I muted my mic so I wouldn't get the echo in my headphones. And as usual, I forgot to unmute it. So take two. Hey, let's start over again. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's me, Mitch. Welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch on this hump day. It's the 14th, already the middle of January. Wow, wow, wow. And I missed it. I see all those people told me that I was muted. Took me a while to catch on. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I'll give you an extra 2 minutes. Well, I always do that anyway at the end. At any rate, the good news, the great news is I get to do it all over again. So drink it if you got it, and I'll enjoy it just as much. Wow, wow, wow. And people are coming in. Good to see you this morning. There we go. I think I'm all set. I was saying I got up early this morning, a little after 5. I'm wide awake. Had a great day yesterday. I felt better yesterday than I have since before my stroke. I walked here, walked there. I did something yesterday that even I, right now, look back in amazement. I misplaced my cane. Now, I don't know if you understand what that means. I put it somewhere, leaned it up against something. Turns out it was in my laundry room, but I leaned it up against something, and it kind of slipped behind the thing I leaned it up against. And I went 3/4 of the day walking all over the place, not even giving the cane a second thought. Then, right before I was going to go to bed, I like to have the thing in the bedroom with me. I dawned on me, where the hell is my cane? Now, that I hate to keep talking about milestones, but that was really something new for me. And I walked all over the house. I looked everywhere for that stupid cane. I couldn't believe it. You know, that's when you start believing in aliens and mysteries. My cane has been stolen. And I finally tracked it down. It took me about 10 minutes. Everywhere I normally would set the cane down, it wasn't there. And I found it. And that was good. That was good news. So today I'm going to try something. We'll see what happens. I'm going to just leave the cane in the bedroom and not use it all day, unless for some reason I start feeling a little shaky, which can happen. But that was an awesome achievement, believe it or not. I view it that way anyway. Tomorrow I go for my VA physical. And I want to talk a little bit about the video I put out yesterday, which elicited just exactly the types of responses I thought it would. And I thought it was very, very interesting. So I'm going to try to qualify that and explain my thinking a little more so that some people don't think I'm just an idiot for wanting to skip this round of blood tests at the VA. I made a case, I think, in the video for the reasons why, but those reasons apply to me. They apply to me in my situation, at my age, in my health. And no way did I ever mean that I recommend everybody do that. And I want to make that clear. But the point of the video was to say that if it ain't broke, don't go out of your way looking for ways you think it might be broken. Here's a question. Why is your system muted at the beginning of the stream? I explained that, Peter. It was muted because I didn't want to put my headphones on while I watched Kilts for the whole thing. So I turned on a little Bluetooth speaker and I muted my mic so it wouldn't feedback while I watched Kelsey. That's why. And it's one of the checklist items that I just forgot this morning. There's a bunch of things I have to do right before I go live. Bunch of buttons I have to push, change I have to make, scenes I have to select. And I just missed that one. And I missed that one because the arm, this arm, it's right here, that goes to my microphone. When I look down at my mixer, the button that has a light on it that says it's muted is hidden from my direct line of sight by this arm. And I can't see that button. That arm goes right across the corner, this corner right here of the mixer as far as my line of sight. And that's why that happens once in a while. So it's a little less professional show business this morning. It is what it is. Okay, let me say hi to Mary M. Always the first one in. Always yesterday, I guess. Lady June, how you doing? Good morning to Michael Seeley in Tampa. How are you? Mike Pregler is at the gym. May be back before the end of the show. Rick was here, 6:30, and Wayne Herman, how are you, Wayne? Good morning, everyone, says Mike Seeley in Melbourne. Lucy Work is here. Hi, Lucy. We have Sybil Vimes. I don't recognize that name. Good morning. Good morning to you, and welcome, Sybil. Captain America's here. Steve Rogers, how you doing, Steve? Good to see you. Sandy Blythe, always a pleasure. Good morning, Mitch, he said. Rick says, rainy here this morning. We are going to get Rick. We got a cold front coming. Get ready for it. In fact, we're going to have a number of consecutive days where it's going to go down into the 30s here in the morning. And I guess I can't complain. It is winter, but I don't like it. Bill Cook, how are you, Bill? Good to see you. Larry Ryan, good morning. Mitch, and all the Mitch Fits. How you doing, Larry? Robbie Autry. Guess what? As usual, one of the consistent winners of the First at 7 o'clock club. Congratulations. Brian Dish is here. How you doing, Brian? And Anthony is here. And then he says, here. I should call the roll. Sybil Vimes says, good morning, Mitch. How are you? And Carnivore LG. Don't recognize that, but good morning to you, my friend. Good morning. Rick checked in. Oh, that's Thomas. Target Prime Rib. How you doing, Thomas? How are you? Tanya's here. Hi, Tanya. Good morning to you. Richard Williams is here, as usual, from Copper Hill, Tennessee. Mundus Voltus Septi for you. Mic is off. Yeah, here we go with all the muted stuff. We have Bruno from Windsor, New South Wales, Australia. Wow. Good morning, mate. Good morning, Bruno. Good morning, Bruno. No sound, no sound, no sound. Audio. Jerry Bell. Good now. Hiya, Jerry. Thank you. Thank you. We didn't screw up too much of it. Rick, yeah, it happens to all of us. Yeah, we found that out last night, Rick, on the live stream. A couple of times, Rick started talking and nothing came out. It's very easy to do when you're working with audio equipment and mixers and things like that. Much harder to do if you're just using your cell phone. But I couldn't do this if it was just on a cell phone. I like the tricks and the gadgets and the different scenes. The push buttons. God, love the push buttons. Bride Biscuit is here. How you doing? I saw that you won. You won Kelsey this morning, and the prize, if I'm not mistaken, was a ticket to the barbecue at Kiltz's house and the event January 6th and 7th. I mean, February 6th and 7th. I don't know if you'd be able to make it because it's an ambitious gift. I will be there, and I saw that James, Kilty's guest this morning, will also be there. So it's going to be quite a party. The Sealy boys are going to be there. Gary No Slow, he's going to be there. So in some respects, it's going to be like a reunion for the Mitch Fits. So hope to see you there. I hope to see you there. Let me get my coffee. All right, Tanya, you don't need my permission for that. And I don't understand. Omish's hat looks like a blueberry to me. I don't know if blueberries look more purple to me. I always wondered why they don't call them purple berries. Judy King, how you doing? Good to see you. And let's do a few more of these. If you got any questions or topics you want to talk about, put QQQ in the chat. Larry says, congratulations, Mitch, on fighting and getting stronger. Yeah, it's a slow deal, but my balance is improving. I can move around faster, turn a little faster. I still got to be careful. I can't let myself get too overconfident because the last thing in the world I want to do is fall. And it's a very real risk. So I had to be, it's a fine line you have to draw between stretching your abilities and yet staying deliberate and aware enough not to be dangerous to yourself. I wonder if Evil Knievel felt that way every time he tried to jump over a canyon. Thomas has a little stomach problem. Sorry to hear that, my friend. Sorry to hear that. I hope you get better. Peter chimed in and said, good morning. Hi, Peter. How you doing? Peter was a guest with us last night, as was Rick and Gary and Lizzie. Lizzie was there last night, and she was having a little bit of problems sticking to carnivore, and I hope we helped you, Lizzie, if you're here this morning. I haven't seen you yet, but I hope we helped you. We also had, speaking of Liz, we had Liz Carnivore Science, who had never been with us before, chimed in, and towards the end of the live stream, last half an hour, we were going. We had a great conversation. It went over almost a half an hour. We all had a good time. Peter was there. It was for a Tuesday night. Ended up with like 110, 120 people watching. It was tremendously successful Tuesday night live stream, and I don't hold that much hope for Tuesday. I mean, who does anything on a Tuesday of any consequence? But we had a good time. And we'll see if we can't repeat that on Thursday night after I've had my physical, which I think will be a non-event. The biggest part of my physical that concerns me is the fact that I have to drive to the VA, find a parking place, manage. It's probably going to be just an excessive amount of walking. Now, they do have guys with golf carts that troll the parking lot looking for people like me and so many other elderly veterans that don't walk too well. They will push you to your appointment in a wheelchair. I don't want to do that. I want to do it myself this time. And if I need help, I'll find help. But I don't want to be wheeled in a wheelchair. I had enough wheelchairs this past year to last me a lifetime. Yes, last me a lifetime. Ribeye Susie here. Hi, Ribeye Susie and Donna Ray, Bacon Runner. What brought you to carnivore? Tanya. Okay, there. Everybody's conversing already. Peter. Well, yeah, we talked about the mute button and everybody's talking, trying to help Thomas out of his sour stomach. Peter, Mitch, will you share some of the comments that you got on your recent video and your thoughts about these? Thanks for reminding me, Peter. That was my first order of business after I get done welcoming all my friends. Tiny says, today is the first day in 3 days I woke up without a fever. Now I got to go to work. Well, I'm glad you're getting better. Glad to hear that. Okay. Now we're just into the conversation. Larry James is here. Hiya, Mitchy says. Gary's here. Hiya, Gary. Thanks for coming in last night. We had a great time. Chris Hope, my buddy, how you doing, Chris, in Texas? Old drone buddy, always good to see you. Good morning to you, too. Good morning to you. Good to see you here, Chris. Okay, I don't see anybody new here, so let me get started talking about the video. And what I want to do is I want to get up on the screen here. I should have had this ready, and I should have had the mic unmuted as well. But let me go to the comments from that video last night. And I haven't answered any of them yet because I didn't want them to disappear from my feed. And these are the comments. So you can see what I look at. When I look at my feed of unanswered comments, I get all the unanswered, and it tells me what video over here on the right that they were. And this is where I get the option, because I have to do one of two things to get them so they don't keep showing up in this feed. I can't just ignore them. If I ignore them, they keep coming back like a bad penny. And you can see that there's other comments on other videos mixed in with them as I get towards the current, but these are the comments on yesterday's video. A lot of comments considering the video did very poorly, as I suspected it would. Very few views. It really wasn't any thinking the title to arouse your curiosity, I basically said, I'm not getting, should I get my blood test this year? Most people don't care. It is what it is. But there are definitely, like everything else in this world, a big split in opinion. And let me just read a few of them. And I don't want to embarrass anybody, so if you can't read the name of the commenter, I'm not going to read it. But I dread having to go to my doctor these days, although my doctor knows me and knows how I feel about tests and things. I still dread going. Thanks for the video, Mitch. Next one says, I would get the blood test just for the entertainment value, just in case. Think about that. The reason I don't want to get the blood tests is because if I were to follow this advice, and there was something about in one of those just for entertainment value, and there was something that caused me to worry because somebody else has decided that that is not good. Now, that somebody else may be wrong, but our lab work and our blood tests are full. We talked about this last night, are full of such estimates and nonsense and erroneous good ranges. We get, let me use this word, cover the children's ears, because there is no expression any more appropriate for what happens to us. We get mind fucked. And once we are, we can't unsee it or unknow it anymore. And whatever it is may be totally off base, like so many of the lab results that I have discovered mean nothing, might be lab errors. The normal ranges apply to mostly sick people these days because that's an average of all people, and 80% of people are metabolically ill. You factor that in with my age, almost 79. If it isn't bothering me now, if I have no symptoms, why would I want to go out of my way? Let them stick a needle in my arm. Let some organization that still thinks whole grains are the healthiest food on the planet have it on record with government institution that I have this. Why would I want to become mind fucked? Because there's always that little nagging doubt. Always that little nagging doubt. Just like if somebody told you, I'll give you an example. A good friend of mine, my best friend in the world, his name was Stan Post. I knew Stan for many years. He and I flew model airplanes together. He was a dentist. He was a very wealthy guy, very talented guy, kind of like a Renaissance man. He was a musician. He was an artist, and he painted. His hobby was rebuilding vintage Porsches. He had a shop like you see these commercial shops that had 10 bays in them. That was for his hobby of rebuilding cars. An incredible guy, the nicest guy in the entire world. And my best friend and confidant, and I think that I was his confidant too, because we would talk about things that we wouldn't talk about to anybody else. We were like each other's consigliere. And Stan had a medical condition, and I never could figure out how he could live with it. He had AFib. And every couple of months, he'd flip into AFib, and he'd have to go to the hospital for a conversion where they shocked him. When he got into his 60s, he went and he had what they call an ablation, where they cauterize certain areas inside the heart to try to stop this, but they never really stopped it. He knew almost his entire life that because of his heart condition, he could drop dead instantly at any minute. It was that bad. He lived his life with the knowledge that the next step that he took might be his last step. Imagine that. Imagine living with the knowledge that, would most of us say, well, why bother planning anything? He came to terms with it. He finally accepted his mortality, evidently younger in his life, and adopted the attitude, it is what it is. We all die someday. I'm not going to let that stop me from living. And he was able to do that. Very few people are. If some doctor was to tell me, well, no, you don't have any heart symptoms, and no, you don't have this, but, because of this test and that test, you could drop dead any minute. Do you think I want to know that? That will rob me of whatever quality life I have left. I have adopted a stand post attitude. I have accepted mortality. Whatever happens is going to happen. If that does happen, I won't know about it. I'd rather not know that there's a possibility of that. But we all live in a world where there's always a possibility of a life-ending event happening anytime, anywhere. More often than not, it's in the form of some kind of an accident. You get run over by a bus. You get killed in a car accident. Somebody runs you over. A building falls on your head. We always run the risk of that. But we don't apply that to us individually and fear it and expect it. And I can't imagine. It's like the feeling I got the feeling when I had this melanoma, skin cancer on my nose. Melanoma is a deadly cancer. I caught it early, but we didn't know at the time because I pay attention to those things. And if I get another big spot on my nose, I will go to the doctor and have a biopsy and whatever tests are necessary. And if I get symptoms of a disease or pains in my chest, I will go have tests. I'm not avert to the test. I'm just saying, if you're perfectly healthy and you're doing great, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. At my age. Now, maybe if you're 20 and have your whole life ahead of you, you'd be foolish if you didn't, because there might be some obscure condition. But I think my physiology is pretty well settled in right now. And I explained it in the video. I had blood tests last year. I had blood tests in my physical, and I also had my blood tested every which way from Sunday when I had my stroke. So it hasn't even been a year yet since I got those tests, and I'm just tired of hearing about my high cholesterol and my elevated EGFR, which I can explain, and my elevated creatinine, which is explained by my lifestyle. We talked about this last night. And that most people, when they get the results of these tests from their doctors, they either ignore them, don't even look at them, and live a happy life. And that's what I want to do. I want to live without knowing. There's certain things I don't want to know. I certainly don't want to know the exact date and time of my own death. Do you? there are some people that are fascinated by that. They would give anything to know. Most of us just don't want to know, and I'm among them. But when I had that biopsy on my nose, I had to wait for a week. Wait for a week for the results. And any of you who have ever had to wait for the results of a test that'll tell you whether you've got a potentially life-threatening disease will know the feeling. You wait and you wait, and your mind plays out every possible scenario over and over again. And during that week, you have no life at all. If you're that kind of person, you have no life at all. You think of nothing else. You put your whole life on hold until the test results come in. Your heart's beating 200 beats a minute when that phone rings, when they call you with the results. I remember that. I don't want to live the rest of my life in that kind of anticipation of disaster. That's my reasoning. You're free to do whatever you want, but it's amazing how many people told me or insinuated that maybe it wasn't a good idea not to get the blood tests. And then I turned to Rick and I said, Rick, when's the last time you've been in a doctor? He said, I don't know, back in 1990 something. So there are a lot of people that just live their life, and they tend to be the happiest ones that aren't worried about this all the time, wired up to some machine, agonizing over this number or that number. And I look at what happened to my friend Kiltsy when he got his CAC score results and how it disrupted his life and his channel and his message for almost a month, maybe more. You cannot unsee things you've seen. You can't unhear things you've heard. You can't unknow things that you now know. So maybe it's better not to look at certain things or listen to certain things, and certainly know certain things that you have no control over. The second thing, let me read another one of these over here. I would get for entertainment, just in case. It's not, these things do not entertain me. Do not entertain me. The next one said, yes, get the blood test, Mitch. Okay. Here's one. I agree with you. At 70, I've lost count of all the tests I didn't need, and yet I had to pay for them. That's one way to look at it. There's another one. I never had a blood test done. I don't even know my blood type. Ignorance is bliss. I'm perfectly healthy at 60 and don't need coulda, woulda, shoulda quackery. Yeah, somebody agreed with me. That doesn't mean that if I don't have a symptom, I'm not going to go get it diagnosed. And I think that's more the way we should do it. But the medical community today wants to manage your health for you. Have you noticed that? Your health insurance company sends you magazines every month. Healthy living, better living, do this, do that, eat this, eat that. Constantly bad advice. The TV advertisements are always telling you, you don't know it yet, but you need this drug. Ask your doctor. What do you think your doctor's going to say? No, they pay him a commission or something. They get money to them. Everything is managed care. They want to manage your care. In order for them to manage your care, you got to go see them. You got to go to the labs. You got to go to the doctor's office. You don't just need an annual checkup. You need a monthly checkup now. And God forbid we find some condition We got a program for that too. Overweight, we can manage that for you too. Here, take this shot in your ass of Ozempic and get skinny. But that means, there's side effects, so you got to keep tabs on them. You need this lab work and that lab work and the other lab work every 3 days. And keep eating those healthy whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. That's what they want. They want you to be tied to them in every way. They don't want you to own anything. They want you to subscribe to everything. They want you to become a source of income for your life. And in return, they will try to keep you alive as long as they can, as long as you go along with the program. But what the one factor that's missing from that, the one part of the equation that most people don't think about is, yeah, that's well and good. I may live longer, but I'm going to be suffering and sick and inconvenienced and living for the medical community instead of having an actual life of my own. That's what the VA does. Same thing. Same thing. You get on their program and they come up with things that they want you to do. They don't get paid for it, but at least they do in a way because they get paid by the taxpayer. And like most government agencies, anything that increases their perceived value, which would be more interaction with the veterans, is going to help them in the long run because they won't get their budgets cut. So it's a tough decision. And most of us still give or have a little hope that there's some credibility to the medical community's advice. But the more I go and the more I live this life, the more I see nothing but self-interest, greed, and corruption tied to every bit of their advice. Exercise, you need to join a gym. There's some, you always got to buy something. And at a time in my life where I've just recovered from this stroke, and I don't need to justify it to anybody. And there are people that are going to think I'm stupid because what if I have a deadly disease? Well, I'll know soon enough. I'll get symptoms. But until then, I want to be positive that I'm very healthy. I want to believe it. And if I get some bogus indication that somebody else says I'm not healthy and I start believing it, it will ruin my life. The prerequisites for anybody to take my advice is just like this commenter who says, I never had a blood test done. I'm perfect. I'm 60 and I'm perfectly healthy. If you feeling good, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There are some medical tests and there are a few exceptions, and I've always lived by those. And I think it's important that I mention what they are. We do have conditions and diseases that creep up on us with no symptoms. Colon cancer is one of those. Our modern medicine has given us a way to detect colon cancer very, very early. It's the thought of a colonoscopy doesn't sit well with most. But if anybody says, do you recommend them? I would say absolutely yes. Get your first one at 50. Because if they find a polyp, they can burn it out of there. And chances are they saved you from a pretty miserable death. I've had 3 of them. At my age, I never had a polyp. I never had any problem. I had one every 10 years. I'm not going to have another one when I get to be 80. Enough is enough. And that's something that a lot of people in the medical community actually agree with. You haven't had colon cancer now, up until now. Haven't even had a polyp. It grows so slowly that if you were to get a polyp tomorrow, it probably wouldn't give you colon cancer for 30 more years. And sometimes you just got to say, I'm not going to worry about that. The odds are I won't be here. And the odds are even better that I won't get the cancer in the first place because I'm a carnivore. I don't eat the sugar and the carbs and all the things that stimulate and help the growth of the cancers. So I consider myself kind of cancer-proof anyway. But I get a symptom, I get another skin cancer, believe me, I'm going to get it treated. Is that definitely correct? Great advice. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Great video. I totally get your dilemma. Personally, I will stay away from the doctor unless something feels wrong and I can't figure it out for myself. A blood test could give some direction in that case. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. Personally, I'd rebel. Tired of judgmental doctors. Oh boy, that's a good one. Good one. My opinion is get the blood test. Maybe something unknown can be prevented. That's the other side of the argument. But the problem is I'd rather it be unknown. Most of the things they may find out at my age, there's absolutely nothing I could do about it. Nothing I could do about it. And as an example yesterday, oops, let me, I copied it so you could see it here. Let me, hang on a second and I will get it up on the screen. I should have, I don't plan these things ahead. Let me do this. Let me make this big here and put this over here. Okay, what I did was Googled the question, which is the thing that they always talking about, plaque in your arteries. What can I do to clear the calcified plaque in my arteries? That was the question. I asked it of Google AI, Gemini. And here's the answer. Yeah, make it a little bigger here. Hold on. If I don't screw it up completely. There you go. Here's the answer. You can't directly clear existing arterial calcium with home remedies. That means the only way you can clear it is Roto-Rooter, is to let them do surgery on you. And I think that would be very risky. So I know that once you have a CAC score of a certain amount, I don't know what my CAC score is, and I don't want to know. The reason I don't want to know is I'm living, I'm healthy, I feel good, and knowing that I had a high CAC score would ruin my life. And there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing. Why worry about something if you don't have to? And there's nothing you can do about it anyway. Finding out will only ruin my life. Will occupy my thoughts every day. Every time I get a little muscle pain somewhere or a little indigestion, I'll be thinking, this is it. This is it. I'm coming to join you, Elizabeth. I don't want to live that way. I don't think any of us want to live that way. Who are we trying to impress? Are we wearing a certain color ribbon because we care more about our health than everybody else? I care about my health. But your health has become grist for the mill, has become a target for those people that are going after your money without regard for the amount of worry, grief, anxiety they cause you. And that stress and anxiety, interestingly enough, from worrying about the fact that you could die at any minute, causes these kind of problems. So while they're giving you advices, you gotta live with less stress. You gotta. Then they tell you that it's smart to know the things that are going to cause you the maximum amount of stress. It is stupid. It is a game that no living thing on this planet pays except we stupid human beings that basically are too smart for our own good. But listen to this answer from artificial intelligence. You can't clear them, but you can prevent further buildup and stabilize plaque by, here it is, adopting a heart healthy lifestyle, diet, exercise, no smoking, and taking prescribed medication to manage risk factors like cholesterol and blood pressure. Do I need to read that again? That is the narrative. That narrative is the prescription for statins. And this is the first thing that comes up. Then it goes on to tell you what those key lifestyle changes are. Diet, it says, eat fruits, vegetables, especially leafy whole greens like broccoli for vitamin K, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats. Well, what is a healthy fat according to them? Certainly not lard or tallow or ribeyes. Limit saturated fats, sodium, and processed foods. Don't smoke, get exercise. Ask any artificial intelligence and you realize how stupid they are. Artificial intelligence is not intelligent. It's just a super fast way of running algorithms that search immense databases, assemble from the information they find in those databases, the answers, arrange it in the way you want it. It requires an enormous amount of computing power, but it only knows what we tell it. And the first basic rule of computers is garbage in, garbage out. AI is useful if you want to make images of things and stuff. But again, if you want logical thinking, you're not going to get it. You can, in some AIs, query again, adding more and more conditions. And you can actually talk it into or debate with it and finally get the answer you want. But that's still not, you don't know if it's the real answer. It's just you directed them to say a certain thing. For example, you say, hey, AI, what's the best diet? And you're going to get the most obvious and common answer first, because that's what's out there the most. You're going to get the one I just showed you, the healthy fruits and vegetables, whole grains, blah, blah, blah. And then you can say, well, considering that, what would you say if you consider that whole grains are really unhealthy? Well, it'll take whole grains out of the equation for you. It'll tell you exactly what you want to hear. And that's like two human beings debating. We're in trouble. We're really in trouble. So for those of you who think, here's another one. Yes, exclamation point, capital yes. Get your blood tests. It's for sure help me. How does it hurt to give a little blood? Oh, you think that it bothers me to have somebody stick a needle in my arm? You would not believe what I've been through. I don't care. I can even watch them do it. That's not what bothers me about a blood test. I could care less about somebody as long as they're sterile. Stick away. When I was in the hospital and rehab for my stroke, they were constantly sticking me 10 times a day. This test, that test, the other test. I had a permanent shunt in my arm the whole time I was there. That's not I don't care. I don't care. Better safe than sorry, he says. Save your money, this one says. Here's another one. I'm not a big believer in our medical system, so I probably would not get my blood tested unless something felt off. Looking forward to hearing how your doctor visit goes. That's a reasonable response. I don't trust the system at all. I am more and more of that. If you've ever been in the system, if you've ever let them have control of your life, and you actually observe what's going on, you wouldn't trust them either. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I was an uncooperative patient, according to them. When they label you, they tell you, this is the crazy part. You're dealing with a bunch of people who believe the entirety of all their beliefs about medicine is bullshit. You could tell by looking at the advice they give you and the way they treat things. They're great in trauma situations. They're great at emergency care of stabilizing a patient. And yes, we need them for that. If we dislocate something or break something or cut ourselves wide open in an accident, somebody's got to sew us up. I have a lot of respect and admiration for the medical community in the trauma area. In the health management area, not so much. Not so much. And I'm finding a lot more and more people respect them less and less. And with the tremendous number of conversations I've had with the average doctor and listened to what I've absolutely proven to myself and tens of thousands of other people have proven, and looking at how unhealthy and overweight these bastions of knowledge are spouting this crap back to me, I have no respect or credibility for any of them anymore. They have become no better than WebMD on the computer at spouting the company line in the management of chronic diseases that we shouldn't even have if we paid attention to important things like proper nutrition, instead of demonizing the few things that really are healthy eating in the name of selling us all like crap that's really poisoning and killing us. And all of us here probably have arrived at that same conclusion, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. Most doctors' nutritional advice is the Mediterranean diet. There you go, Mitch. I just saved you a trip to the doctor. It's interesting. It's interesting. But it's fairly split. It's fairly split about people who understand my position, understand that I'm not advocating that everybody ignore blood tests. I absolutely think that somebody coming off the standard American diet who has 50 to 100 pounds to lose, who has high blood pressure, should absolutely get the blood tests, with the one caveat that they learn to understand them and interpret them, because your doctor's going to screw up because they're trained to interpret them according to their rules, and learn which blood tests are actually unreliable and can mean nothing, especially to somebody who is eating the proper diet. And I talked about that last night as well. Wow, look at this. An hour's gone by. I haven't paid attention to the chat. I've been chatting myself. Let's see if there's any hiccups. If there's any QQQs in here. Hold on a second. Let me get back up a ways back in the chat, and I will do my little search trick of F3 QQQ. Okay, Mitch, will you share some of the comments that you got in your recent video? Yes, Peter, I did that. Wow, not a lot of questions. Here's one from DS111. Do you think an old-fashioned glass coffee percolator would be better than an ordinary modern drip coffee maker? No. No. It's the paper filter. It's the paper filter. The paper filter will filter out most carcinogens from the coffee. They don't recommend French presses either. Should filter from with an unbleached filter. It will filter out. This is a good part. It will filter out carcinogens and microplastics. So even if your coffee maker is plastic and you're concerned about making coffee in plastic, if it's filtered before it gets to your cup, it's about the healthiest you can get. So no, I don't really think that the old style percolator or French press or any method of preparing coffee that has no filter is as good as your average drip coffee maker. And that's why, even though I have a drip maker and I have a Keurig, I got for my Keurig a stainless steel cup and a whole big box full of these little paper filters that you put into the little K cup if you want to make your coffee one cup at a time. And I don't know if it's too late for me. I've had a lot of coffee in my life that wasn't filtered, but for now, that's the way I'm going to do it. But answers that question for you. Any other questions? Any other questions? Wow, not a lot of questions. Kilsey gets a lot of questions, but he's a doctor. 2 doctors, actually. I'll leave the medical questions to those guys. No, that's it. That was the only questions. 3 questions. And I just had okay. Little work-related stuff. Anyway, got to the bottom of the chat there. Let me see. Here was the question from DS111. Somebody said, hello, everyone. Who was that? Lewis. Lewis, how the hell are you, man? Hello, everyone. Oh, that wasn't too long ago. That was 7:18. Wow, I am far behind in this chat. Anyway, we're going to finish on time this morning. I noticed Kilsey finished about a minute early. So I'm going to finish on time this morning. I'll be back after my physical, if I don't fall down in the parking lot or something, tomorrow. I'll probably have a few war stories from it. I will recount the lectures that I get from my nurse practitioner / doctor. Or the lectures I gave her, which is where it usually goes. I want to try to approach it with a different attitude. I usually want to help people. I always want to help. You know the feeling. You discover something that works, you want to share it. You become kind of a missionary. What you end up doing is becoming a pain in the ass to everybody you know and meet because they don't want to hear it. And if they do hear it, they don't believe it because it's not what their doctor told them. I've decided I'm stopping that. I'm not talking about this outside of the YouTube community unless asked. And then I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I will not argue about it. I won't debate it. I don't care anymore. I haven't used this for quite a while. I'm going to use that for a while.
Hey, I don't care. I really don't
care. Yep. I stopped caring. It's too much work. Even with my people I really care about. I'll tell them what I'm doing, but I am not going to debate the subject with them anymore. And I used to go into my doctor's office with the attitude that here is a misguided woman and I need to straighten her out. No more. No more. I'm not going to say a word about it. I'm going to try not to say a word about it. Ask me tomorrow night how well I was able to stick with that. I would give it a 50-50 chance right now. Donna Rose, I just started posting everything I eat on Facebook to see the reactions. Oh, you're going to get them, that's for sure. Unless you're posting to like a carnivore group. Rick's busy talking. Anthony says the button missed for you. he missed my I don't care button. But I don't. Any of us that have been carnivore, when we first become carnivore and we see changes and it really means something, we want to save the world. And then pretty soon you just get tired of the same dumb argument. Well, that's not good. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows meat's bad. Everybody knows you should eat low fat. Everybody knows that you need to eat the rainbow. Everybody knows that everything. Variety. You gotta eat from a wide group of foods. Same company line. Brainwashed robots. Just waiting for the next doctor's appointment. There's actually no reason I even need to go in for this physical. And I see. The blood tests are one matter, but there's nothing that she's going to do or tell me that I need to hear. But I'm going in because the VA, I have to make sure that they know I'm still alive. So if I do go to an emergency room for some trauma, there'd be no question about paying for it. Now, I doubt they would ever drop me, but I still want to keep a presence because I may need them. I'm not saying that I'll never have a medical condition again. I'm saying that right now, I don't have any signs I'm having one, but yet I still have to be prepared. And being financially prepared is how I view the VA. They're a clinic, not a hospital. They're very limited there in their treatment options. However, they do have imaging, and I can get a prescription from them. And usually I can get what I want without having to go in. I can usually just call them on the phone. So I really have only good things to say about the VA, but I can't hold it against them that they that they toe the company line. All right, my friends, before we go too far over, play a little happy music. Say goodbye to your friends in there. I see people are already leaving. Can't wait to get out the door. Got other things to do, other live streams to watch. That's about it. Anybody even say goodbye? Bacon Brother says, stay home tomorrow, Mitch. You know why? I'm actually looking forward to it, Donna Ray. I'm looking forward to it because of the fact I want to push myself a little bit as far as the places I can go and the amount of walking I can do. And that's going to just tell me. And I'm going to be pushing myself in an area where there's help available if I need it. In other words, if I run out of steam halfway up the long hallway down to the clinic where I go, there's, two words that I got a wheelchair. So I don't want to do that in a store. I want to do that I'm going to stretch myself tomorrow. I'm going to walk a lot of steps. It's a spread out place, spread out and huge parking lots, and always a hunt for a parking place unless you go first thing in the morning, and my appointment is not. So I want to go for that. Seeing the doctor, they got nothing for me right now. I need nothing from them right now. But I want it on the books that I had a physical. They'll probably hold it against me that I didn't think I needed blood tests. They'll label me uncooperative, and we'll go down that road. I'm sorry. I'm going to advocate for myself, especially with what I know. I can understand if I knew nothing about it, I would have to be forced to defer to their, quote, expertise. Since I found out that all that expertise is nothing but propaganda, I can't defer to it anymore. It took me all these years to figure that out. All right, my friends, with that being said, I will see you tomorrow evening, Thursday night, live stream now open to everybody. Nice panel. Let's see if we can have a repeat of Tuesday. It was a lot of fun. And until then, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.